Hi everyone, welcome to FM Deep Dive, a facilities management production created with the help of AI. Today, we're diving into the people, projects, and work that keep the University of Maryland campus running.
Welcome to today's Deep Dive. I'm your host, and I'm here with our resident expert to look at something you might walk right past it on a university campus. Specifically, we're diving into a source called UMD Arboretum Management, Native Plants and Future Sustainability.
Right. And the mission of this deep dive is to really show you that this isn't just about pretty scenery or a nice spot for a nap between classes. It is a carefully curated system. They're balancing aesthetics with some pretty strict sustainability goals.
Exactly. I mean, you look at the University of Maryland and you just see trees, right? But the Arboretum and landscape services there, they treat the campus like a living collection.
Yeah, they really manage it almost like a museum. But instead of preserving static art, it's this living, breathing, co-evolving thing.
So let's get into the mechanics of that curation, because you'd think they just pick trees that turn a nice red in the fall and call it a day. But the core concept here is this idea of a native backbone.
That is the absolute priority. And we should clarify that native isn't just some buzzword they slapped on a mission statement. It is all about coevolution.
Right, but I feel like I understand that broadly. For the listener, though, why does it matter so much in this specific context? Like, if a beetle needs a leaf to eat, why can't it just eat a non-native leaf if it's green and right there?
I mean, that is the common misconception. Nature is just way more specific than that. The director there, Karen Petrov, she actually points out that certain insects have evolved over thousands of years to rely on very specific plant species.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they literally cannot survive or complete their life cycles without that exact host plant.
So if you plant a tree from a completely different continent just because it looks cool, you're basically putting up a closed for business sign for the local ecosystem.
Exactly. You are creating a food desert.
Yeah.
The tree might look totally healthy, but it's ecologically isolated. So the UMD team prioritizes native and non-invasive species that support that entire web of life, insects, fungi, mammals, while also being tough enough to handle Maryland's evolving climate.
And evolving is the key word there, because usually native is the golden rule, right? But looking at the source, climate change is actually forcing them to break their own rules in some fascinating ways.
It's out of sheer necessity. They aren't planting for the climate of 1950 anymore. They are looking at the data and planting for Maryland's future climate.
Which actually brings us to the orchards.
Yes, the orchards. This was the part that completely threw me. Figs. I always thought of figs as a Mediterranean thing. How are they surviving a Maryland winter?
Well, 20 years ago, they probably wouldn't have. They would have died back every single winter. But now, because of warmer winters, these non-invasive exotics are thriving. It's this tangible biological indicator of how the climate zone has shifted.
That is wild. Right. And they've actually established a small orchard near the community learning garden where they're actively replacing the older aesthetic choices.
Moving away from the crab apples, I saw.
Yeah, exactly. The old strategy was purely ornamental. Crab apples look great, but the fruit isn't really good for eating. So they are swapping them for plums, cherries, and disease-resistant apples.
Makes sense. If you're going to plant a tree that requires maintenance, why not make it one that feeds the community and is resilient? Which brings us to the sheer scale of all this. Because swapping a few fruit trees is one thing, but they have a pretty intense metric in their climate action plan.
No, it's very aggressive. The university mandate is a net gain of 100 trees every single year.
Wait, a net gain? So that's not just replacing the ones that happen to die?
No, they have to actually expand the canopy density by 100 trees annually.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about a university campus, you've got constant construction, new dorms being built, roads widening.
Right, the concrete footprint is always growing.
Exactly. So maintaining the current canopy is hard enough. Expanding it is a massive logistical challenge.
You definitely have to look far ahead. You can't just dig a hole wherever you want.
Well, Petrov calls it a living legacy. When they plant a tree, they are planting it for a timeline that will outlast almost everything else on campus.
It's so counterintuitive. A building feels permanent to us, and a tree feels temporary. But it's actually the exact opposite.
In a lot of cases, yeah. The landscape changes around the plants. You might plant a tree today to frame the entrance to a library, and in 80 years, that library might be completely demolished or the road moved.
But the tree is still there.
Exactly. The original intention of the planting gets lost, but the ecological value, the carbon capture, the shade, the habitat that all persists.
It's basically future-proofing the history of the campus.
It really is a brilliant blend of science, agricultural history, and pure adaptation. They are curating a canopy that has to survive a world that is hotter and more volatile than the one the previous generation of trees grew up in.
Well, it definitely makes you look at the park down your own street a little differently. It's not just scenery, it's a survival strategy.
It raises a pretty massive question for all of us, too. I mean, if UMD is planting with a 100-year plan, adjusting for a climate we haven't even fully experienced yet, how might the function of our own local green spaces need to change?
That is a great point. If your local park wants to survive the next century, will it still look like a traditional park? Or will it need to function a lot more like a laboratory? Something for you to chew on next time you take a walk outside. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
You've been listening to FM Deep Dive. To learn more about facilities management projects at the University of Maryland, visit facilities.umd.edu.